The beast's cage, the sound of heavy metal doors filled the air as they opened slowly. The crowd in the alien arena roared with excitement. Hundreds of creatures from all parts of the galaxy sat around the round cage, their strange eyes focused. On one figure standing inside, Kira stood still in the center of the cage. Her slim arms were scratched and bruised. Her pale blue skin was covered in dust. Her silver hair fell over her face, but her golden eyes showed no fear. She knew what was coming. She had seen this before. Prisoners thrown into this arena, left to fight beasts much larger than themselves. No one had survived above her. Hanging from a steel platform, a deep voice announced, "The final fight begins. Release the beast." The crowd roared louder. Kira slowly raised her eyes to the giant gate across from her. She could hear it heavy breathing, claws scratching the floor. The beast was ready. She closed her eyes for a moment and took a deep breath. She was ready to dart far above the cage. Among the cheering crowd, a young human man sat quietly. His name was Ethan. He wore a simple, dark jacket and looked out of place among these loud alien spectators. His brown eyes watched Kira carefully. His heart beat faster. "Why am I feeling this?" he wondered. He had seen many fights in this arena before, but today, something was different. The girl inside. She looked so calm, even as death came closer. Suddenly, the gate burst open. A massive creature stepped out. A beast with thick red skin, sharp claws, and long black teeth. Its yellow eyes locked onto Kira immediately. Saliva dripped from its jaws as it growled deeply. The crowd cheered louder. Kira stood tall but still. She had no weapons, no armor. Her bare feet touched the cold metal floor. The beast circled her slowly, testing her fear. Ethan couldn't look away. His fists tightened. His mind screamed at him, "Don't get involved. It's not your fight." But his heart whispered something else. Then the beast roared, loud and terrifying, and leaped straight toward Kira. Kira didn't run. She didn't scream. She simply closed her eyes and waited for death. But at that very moment, a loud human voice cut through the noise of the arena. "Stop." Ethan's voice echoed around the stadium. The crowd gasped. The beast froze in midair, its claws inches from Kira's face. Everyone turned toward the human who had dared to speak. Kira slowly opened her eyes. She saw the beast's open mouth just a breath away from her. Then she turned her gaze upward. To the human who had shouted, guards began to move toward Ethan. The announcer's voice barked angrily from the speakers. "Who dares interrupt the fight? This is against the rules." But Ethan didn't care. His body moved before he could think. He jumped down from his seat and ran toward the edge of the cage. The guards shouted and pointed their weapons at him. The beast growled again. Confused by the sudden interruption, Ethan reached the cage door. Without hesitation, he climbed over the metal bars and dropped into the arena. The crowd fell silent. No one had ever done this before. Kira stared at him. This human? Why was he here? Why did he stop the beast? Ethan stood between Kira and the creature. He raised one hand toward the beast, speaking in a calm voice. "Easy. Easy now." Beast hesitated. Its growl softened slightly. Somehow, this human's voice was reaching it. "Who is this human?" a voice from the crowd shouted. "He's breaking the sacred rules. He will die too." But Ethan kept his eyes on the beast. Slowly, he stepped forward, whispering something. In a strange language, the crowd watched in shock as the beast lowered its head. Kira couldn't believe what she was seeing. This man, a human, was controlling the monster that was about to kill her. Then, Ethan turned slightly and spoke to Kira for the first time. "Come with me, if you want to live." Kira hesitated for only a moment. Something in his voice made her trust him, even though they had never met before. Slowly, she took a step forward. Suddenly, a loud alarm rang across the arena. The guards realized Ethan was calming the beast and helping Kira. They rushed toward the cage door. Weapons? Ready. Ethan grabbed Kira's hand. We need to run. Now. Kira nodded quickly. As the first guard fired a warning shot, Ethan pulled Kira forward. Running past the confused beast, the crowd erupted into chaos, some cheering, some shouting, others demanding their deaths. In that moment, Kira felt something strange. She had prepared to die in the beast's mouth. But now, this human had broken all rules to save her life. She didn't know why he was helping her. But she knew one thing. She was not ready to die today. The human's intervention, the alarm still screamed through the arena. A sharp sound that cut through the air like a blade. Kira's heart raced as Ethan pulled her along the cold metal floor. Behind them, guards shouted orders and loaded their energy rifles. Kira glanced back once the beast still stood frozen, confused by what had just happened. The crowd above was in total chaos now. Some were angry, some laughing, others simply watching in shock. She tightened her grip on Ethan's hand. Who is this human? She wondered. Ethan's mind was racing too. He hadn't planned this. His body had simply moved when he saw the fear in Kira's golden eyes. He wasn't sure why he cared, but something deep inside had told him. She couldn't be left to die. A group of guards blocked the main exit. They raised their rifles. Stop right there, one guard shouted. Kira froze. This was it. Trapped again. But before she could speak, Ethan raised both his hands slowly, not in surrender, but in control. In a calm but firm voice, he said, "You don't want to shoot. Not yet." The guards hesitated. His voice. There was something strange about. It was steady, full of confidence, even in this deadly situation. Then Ethan moved fast. With a flick of his wrist, he pressed a small button on a device hidden in his sleeve. Suddenly, the arena lights flickered, then went completely dark. A ripple of panic moved through the crowd as everything turned pitch black. The sound of confused aliens shouting filled the arena. In the darkness, Ethan whispered, "Stay close." Kira nodded, though she could barely see him now. She felt his hand pull her gently but firmly forward. Somewhere above them, sparks flew as part of the ceiling exploded. A rope dropped down from the shadows. Kira's eyes widened in surprise. Ethan grabbed the rope and looked at her. "We go up," he whispered. Without waiting for a reply, he climbed first, fast and sure. Kira followed quickly, her strong fingers gripping the rope tightly. Below them, guards fired wildly. But the darkness and panic worked in their favor. As they reached the upper platform, Ethan helped Kira up. She found herself in a dark maintenance tunnel that ran above the arena. "Where are we going?" she asked softly, her voice shaking. "Out of here," Ethan replied, breathing hard but smiling slightly. "Trust me." Kira hesitated again. Trust was something rare for her. All her life, she had been taught that humans only cared for themselves, that they never risked anything for aliens like her. But this human was different. Suddenly, a bright spotlight turned on. It shone directly at them. "There they are." A voice shouted from behind. Kira and Ethan ran. Their feet pounded on the metal floor of the tunnel. The spotlight followed them closely. Ahead, a metal door blocked their way. Kira's heart sank, but Ethan didn't slow down. He kicked the control panel next to the door. Sparks flew again, and the door slid open just enough for them to squeeze through. As soon as they crossed, he smashed the panel behind him. The door sealed shut. For a few seconds, there was silence. Kira leaned against the wall, panting. "You planned this." Ethan smiled again, that strange calm still in his eyes. Not exactly. But I've escaped worse. His voice was almost teasing, but Kira could tell this human was used to danger before she could speak again. Ethan pulled out a small scanner from his belt. The screen lit up, showing a map. "We're in the maintenance levels now," he explained quickly. "If we're fast, we can reach the docking bay before they lock it down." "Docking bay?" Kira repeated. "Yes," Ethan nodded. "I have a ship hidden there. It's our only chance." She still didn't understand why he was doing this. Why risk everything for her? But deep inside, a small spark of hope lit inside Kira's heart. For the first time since she had been thrown into this nightmare arena, someone, a human, was fighting for her. Their escape had just begun. And the real danger was only starting. The escape begins. Kira followed Ethan closely through the narrow maintenance tunnels. The dim emergency lights flickered weakly, casting shadows everywhere. The sound of alarms still echoed behind them, but in this tight space, it felt distant. For now, Ethan checked the small scanner in his hand again. His voice was calm but urgent. "We need to keep moving. Guards will search this level soon." Kira nodded silently. She didn't understand how. This human knew so much about this place. The tunnels, the controls. Even the beast he acknowledged no outsider should have. But right now, her questions could wait. Survival came first. They turned a corner, and suddenly stopped. Ahead of them was a large grated floor leading to a long vertical shaft. The shaft stretched far down into darkness. Above them, it reached almost to the arena's ceiling. Ethan looked around quickly and then pointed upward. "We climb again. There's a maintenance lift hatch above. It leads straight to the upper." Kira felt her stomach twist. Another climb, another risk. But before she could say a word, a new sound rose from below. Voices. Guards were already entering the lower tunnels, moving fast. There was no time to think. Without hesitation, Ethan grabbed the metal ladder built into the wall and started climbing. Its movements were quick and practiced. Kira took a deep breath and followed. The climb was hard. Cold metal against her hands, muscles aching from the fight and the fall. She could feel the tunnel vibrating footsteps of guards below shouting orders. Halfway up, a bright light flashed from below. "There they are." A guard yelled. A laser blast hit the metal wall right next to Kira. Sparks flying close to her face. Her heart pounded harder. Above her, Ethan called out, "Keep climbing. Don't stop." She didn't stop. She pushed herself faster, her fingers gripping tight. Another shot rang out, this time closer. Suddenly, Ethan reached the hatch. With one strong pull, he forced it open. Light from above poured into the shaft, blinding Kira for a second. He disappeared into the hatch. Kira was just a few steps away now. Then pain. A sharp sting hit her side. A laser shot had grazed her hip. She gasped but didn't stop. Her hand reached the edge of the hatch. Ethan appeared again, reaching down for her. "Take my hand," he shouted. Without thinking, Kira grabbed his hand, and with one strong pull, Ethan lifted her up just as another shot hit the ladder where she had been moments before. The hatch closed behind them with a loud clang. They both collapsed onto the floor, breathing hard. For a moment, there was only silence, except for their breathing. Then Kira looked up, and her eyes widened. They were in a hidden hangar bay. Old ships, some half-broken, sat quietly in the shadows. The place smelled of oil and dust, forgotten by most. But one small ship stood ready in the corner, sleek, black, and clearly modified for speed. Ethan pointed toward it, a grin on his face despite everything. "That's our ride." Kira struggled to her feet. She touched the burn on her side and winced. "You planned all this?" Ethan laughed softly, shaking his head. Not exactly, but I always prepare, just in case. Kira couldn't help but give him a small, tired smile. She didn't know who this strange human was, or why he had broken the rules for her, but here she was. Still alive suddenly, a loud voice crackled over the hangar speakers. You cannot escape. Guards are closing in. Surrender now, and you will be shown mercy. Ethan's expression hardened. He stepped closer to Kira and spoke quietly. Mercy is a lie here. We have one chance, and it's that ship. Kira nodded. She felt her fear, but also something new. A spark of courage. Together, they ran toward the ship. But as they reached the ramp, another alarm sounded. The hangar doors began to open slowly, and beyond them, a squad of heavily armed guards was already waiting. The escape had truly begun. And it was far from over. Secrets revealed the hangar doors groaned as they slid open, revealing rows of armed guards outside, rifles raised, ready to fire. Ethan froze for a split second, scanning the situation. Kira stood beside him, clutching her burned side, her breath shallow, but her golden eyes sharp. Inside, Ethan ordered, and they dashed up the ramp of the small black ship. As soon as they stepped aboard, the ramp closed behind them with a hiss. The engines hummed to life, the floor beneath their feet vibrating gently inside. The cockpit was small, but full of strange controls and blinking lights. Kira had never seen a ship like this, sleek, fast-looking, but covered with strange human modifications. Ethan quickly took the pilot's seat, fingers dancing across the console. Buckle in, he said firmly, not looking back. Kira sat beside him, her fingers trembling as she fastened the safety straps. Outside, the guards began to fire. The first laser blasts hit the ship's outer hull, causing small sparks. But Ethan remained calm. Then, without warning, slammed a lever forward, and the ship lifted off smoothly. As the landing gear retracted, Kira looked out the window. She could see the guards shouting and firing wildly, but the ship was already rising out of reach. The view outside shifted as the ship shot forward into the sky, leaving the hangar far behind. But the danger wasn't over. Above them, Kira spotted several interceptor drones launching from towers around the arena. Complex. They're coming after us, she said quietly. Ethan nodded grimly. I know. Kira turned toward him, unable to keep her questions back any longer. Why are you doing this? You risked your life. For me, why? Ethan was silent for a moment. His hands moved quickly as he adjusted the ship's flight path, weaving between rising towers and debris. Then he finally spoke. Because you don't belong in that cage, he said simply. None of them do. You're not just entertainment for this cruel place. His voice was low, serious, different. From before, Kira felt a strange tightness in her chest. No one had ever said something like that to her before. You knew about the beast too, she said. It obeyed you. How Ethan allowed himself a small smile, eyes still fixed on the sky ahead. That beast. It's not just a monster. It's intelligent. He trained it to kill, but I learned its language. Kira's eyes widened. You speak its language? In a way, Ethan said. I worked in these arenas once. Long ago, I saw the truth behind the cages. The pain, the fear. I couldn't stand it anymore. His voice was bitter now. That's why I stayed, waiting for the right moment to help someone escape. Kira stared at him, amazed. She had thought all humans cared only about profit, power, and control. But this one was different. A loud alarm interrupted her thoughts. Ethan's scanner flashed red. They locked on, he muttered. Missiles incoming. Kira's heart pounded again, but Ethan was already moving, flipping switches, turning the ship sharply to the left. Hold tight, he said. This is going to get rough. The first missile flew past them, exploding in the clouds, but two more followed close behind. Kira closed her eyes, bracing for impact. Instead, the ship spun sharply downward, then rocketed up again in a sudden loop that left her breathless. The missiles missed, just barely. When she opened her eyes again, she saw stars above them, endless, beautiful, free. They had broken through the planet's atmosphere. But Ethan knew they weren't safe yet. We need to jump to hyperspace before their long-range ships catch us, he said. Kira nodded, though she didn't really understand the technical details. She only knew she wanted to survive. And now, for the first time in her life, she wanted freedom to dot. Ethan reached out and pressed a final button. The stars outside stretched into long streaks of light, and in a flash, they were gone. Silence filled the ship. Kira exhaled slowly. Leaning back in her seat, they had escaped. For now, but her mind still spun with questions. Who exactly was this human? Why did he risk so much for her? And what did he mean when he said he had seen the truth behind the cages? The answers would come soon. She could feel it. Their journey together had only just begun. A bond forms. The stars outside the cockpit shimmered as the ship cruised smoothly through hyperspace. For the first time since her capture, Kira felt no cage around her, no walls, no guards. But freedom felt strange. Kira sat quietly, watching Ethan as he worked at the console. His face was serious but calm. She studied him closely now, the human who had broken all the rules to save her. But why? Where are we going? Kira finally asked. Ethan glanced at her and gave a small smile. Somewhere safe. For both of us. His words were soft but full of meaning. Kira looked down at the burn on her hip. The pain was sharp now that the adrenaline was fading. Blood had dried around the wound, and she winced as she touched it. Ethan noticed immediately. Here, he said gently, opening a small compartment beside his seat. He pulled out a basic medkit and knelt beside her without asking permission. He began tending to her wound, cleaning it carefully and wrapping it with a bandage. His touch was surprisingly gentle. You didn't have to save me, Kira whispered. Ethan paused, meeting her gaze. Maybe I did. Kira felt something stir inside her, something unfamiliar. Trust in all her life, trust had been dangerous. On her world, trust meant betrayal. In the arena, trust meant death. But here, sitting in this small human ship with a man who should have been her enemy, trust felt different. Ethan finished wrapping her wound and sat back. You're stronger than you know, he said. You survived that arena longer than anyone. Kira gave a small, bitter laugh. I didn't survive. You saved me. Ethan shook his head. You stayed calm in the face of death. That takes strength. Kira fell silent, staring at the floor. Then she spoke softly. What now? What will you do with me? Her voice trembled slightly. Ethan leaned forward. You're free, Kira. I'm not taking you anywhere you don't want to go. His words surprised her more than anything else. Had no demands, no orders, no chains, just freedom. For the first time, Kira felt a bond beginning to form. Not of power or control, but of something more fragile and more real. She looked up at Ethan. I don't even know who you really are. Ethan sighed and leaned back in his chair. I used to work for them, he admitted. The arena owners. Years ago, I was hired to help manage security, and I stayed too long. I saw what they did to people like you. I told myself it wasn't my problem. But one day, I couldn't look away anymore. He looked at her with sad eyes. That's why I stayed. Waiting for someone worth saving. Waiting for the right moment. Kira felt her heart ache. This human was not like the others. But before she could say more, the console beeped loudly. "Oh," Ethan muttered, "we have a problem." He tapped a few buttons and the holographic screen lit up, showing a blinking red warning. Kira leaned in. "What is it?" "Tracking beacon," Ethan said grimly. "They planted one on the ship. They know where we are." Kira's breath caught. Even in hyperspace, they were not safe. Ethan's mind raced. "We can't go to my safe house now. They'll expect it. We need another plan." Kira surprised herself by speaking firmly. "Then let me help." Ethan raised an eyebrow. "Help? How?" Kira's expression hardened. "I know the systems of that arena. I was their prisoner. I learned everything about their routes, their codes, their weaknesses." Ethan smiled slightly, impressed. "I believe you." In that moment, their bond became something stronger. Partnership, not rescuer and rescued, but equals. Kira's golden eyes burned with new determination. They were no longer just running for survival. They would fight back. Last stand, the ship dropped out of hyperspace suddenly, pulled back into real space by the enemy's tracking beacon. The stars outside became still, cold points of light. Inside the cockpit, alarms flashed red. Ethan slammed his fist on the console in frustration. "They've caught up with us," he muttered. Kira felt a chill. She looked at the scanners. Multiple enemy ships were closing in fast, far too many for them to fight. Ethan's mind raced. He checked weapons, limited. Shields, weak. They couldn't run, they couldn't hide. Not anymore. But Kira's gaze hardened. "You said you were waiting for the right moment," she said, turning to him. Ethan nodded grimly. "I did." "Then maybe this is it," she said softly, but with strength in her voice. "Maybe we don't run anymore." Ethan looked at her. For a long moment, she wasn't afraid. Not anymore. And suddenly, neither was he. Kira moved to the co-pilot seat, her fingers surprisingly fast on the controls. Ethan was shocked, but impressed. She really did know these systems. A transmission crackled on the comms. "This is arena control. Surrender immediately. Your escape attempt is over. Your lives belong to us." Ethan glanced at Kira. "Their arrogance never changes," he said. Kira gave him a small smile. "Let's show them we don't belong to anyone." Ethan pulled a hidden switch under the dashboard, and a secret compartment opened, revealing a strange-looking device. Kira stared at it. "What is that?" Ethan explained quickly. "It's a disruptor core. Illegal, dangerous, but perfect for this situation." Kira's eyes widened. "You planned this?" Ethan gave a small grin. "I told you, I always prepare. Never thought I'd have to use it. But today feels right." The disruptor core would create a blast strong enough to disable every ship nearby, but it would also disable Ethan's ship. Ethan's ship. It was a gamble. Ethan worked quickly, setting the device. He glanced at Kira again. "When this goes off, we'll have 1 minute before all systems fail, including life support. We need to reach the escape pod immediately." Kira nodded without hesitation. Outside, enemy ships surrounded them. Weapons locked on. Then Ethan opened the comms channel one last time. His voice was calm. "Steady. This is Ethan Black. To everyone listening, remember this day. You thought we would break. You thought we would run. But we choose freedom." With that, he triggered the device. A brilliant white pulse exploded from the center of Ethan's ship, washing over all nearby vessels. Enemy ships froze, engines dead, weapons offline, lights flickering. Inside Ethan's ship, systems began to fail too. Lights dimming, air growing thin. Ethan and Kira ran down narrow corridors, past old storage rooms, to the small escape pod near the rear of the ship. As they reached it, Kira stumbled, her leg weak from her earlier wound. Ethan caught her instantly, helping her into the pod. You first, he said. But Kira grabbed his arm, looking into his eyes. We go together, she whispered. Ethan smiled and climbed in beside her. The pod's door closed, just as the ship's main power shut down completely. Inside, the pod's systems hummed to life, independent from the main ship. With a soft whoosh, the escape pod launched into space. Kira watched through the small window as Ethan's ship drifted. Lifeless, but victorious. Around it, the enemy fleet was disabled, floating, powerless. For the first time, Kira felt what true freedom tasted like. Danger, courage, and choice. She turned to Ethan. You didn't just break the rules today, she said quietly. You broke their chains and mine. Ethan looked at her, tired but smiling. And now, we're free. But they both knew this was not the end. Somewhere out there, more enemies waited. But now, they were a team, stronger together. The stars stretched endlessly ahead, and their fight for freedom had only just begun. The Freedom Flight, the escape pod, drifted quietly in the vast emptiness of space. Through its small round window, Kira watched distant stars twinkle like tiny fires. For the first time, she felt peace. And yet, deep inside, she knew their journey wasn't over. Beside her, Ethan worked at the pod's console, his fingers moving carefully over the controls. His face looked tired but calm, the face of a man who had risked everything for freedom. Not just his own, but hers too. The silence between them was peaceful until Kira finally spoke. Where will we go now? She asked softly. Ethan smiled slightly, keeping his eyes on the controls. Wherever we want. No more cages. No more rules. Just freedom. Those words felt heavy and beautiful at the same time. For a girl who had spent so long inside a prison, they meant everything. But freedom, she realized, wasn't easy. The pod scanner blinked, showing something on the edge of the screen, a small, distant planet with breathable air and no signs of civilization. Ethan pointed to it. That will be our first stop, he said. A place to rest and plan. Kira nodded. Her golden eyes glowed softly with determination. She wasn't just a prisoner anymore. She was a survivor. But suddenly, another light flashed on the console, a distress signal. Kira frowned. What is that? Ethan leaned forward, studying the data. His expression changed from curiosity to surprise. It's another escape signal, he said slowly. From a different ship, someone else. Running from them, Kira's heart beat faster. Another life, another person like her. Still out. There, still trapped. Without hesitation, she spoke. Then we can't rest yet. Ethan turned toward her, smiling proudly now. No, we can't. Their mission had changed. Tia. They were no longer just escaping. Tia, they would help others too. As Ethan adjusted the pod's course, Kira placed a hand gently on his shoulder. You didn't just save me, Ethan, she said quietly. You taught me what it means to fight back. Ethan met her gaze and nodded. We'll fight together now. Outside the window, the pod's engines flared to life, small but determined. The stars ahead seemed to shine brighter, as if welcoming them into a future neither of them had expected. But both had earned. Their flight wasn't just a flight for survival. Anymore, it was a flight for freedom, theirs and others. And as the pod sailed into the dark, endless sky, Kira knew this was only the beginning.